like Matt said, I guess the real question is, could you fix it up and maybe make some money on it at the same time? Or I guess you could live in it. Daniel Wick joins us, founder of Horizon View Homes. And Daniel, you actually come from commercial real estate and kind of transitioned into residential real estate and now into the home flipping business. And you called it a residential, what did you call it?
Residential redevelopment.
Residential redevelopment. How are you today? Thanks for coming by.
I am doing fantastic. The sun is shining, and it's a great day. You know, I got a house we've just been working on, and my phone's been ringing while I was listening to you, and I got an offer coming in already.
Well, good. I'm glad it was on silent. I hope the offer was good. Well, that's great. And, you know, so getting an offer when that's kind of the end game of what you're doing when you go buy a house and put your time, effort, money into it. I mean, that's what you're trying to do, right?
You know, that's exactly right. And it's actually real nice right now to kind of see the residential market starting to warm up again. We've had a real decrease in inventory. And, you know, even this particular house I was working on, I was telling Charlie earlier that, you know, we went into it thinking we were going to get this price at the end, and that's actually escalated a little bit here over the past 3 months. So it's nice to see things after the past 3 or 4 years of difficulty we've had. It's nice to see some upticks.
Yeah, and I think everybody would agree with that. People who are selling houses, people who are just monitoring their home's value. It's really nice to see those upticks. You know, so selling the house, end game, that is the plan. But you had actually mentioned before we came on the air that is not where you make your money when you actually sell it.
No, actually, you would think that is the case. Yeah, you sell the house, that's when you make your profit. But certainly, again, with what we do, the real beginning of the process, and sometimes you could even call it the end of the process, is when you buy the home. It's great to go out there. You see those beat up homes, you see those ones that need to be fixed, and that's kind of what we bring to the community. There's a twofold image I think sometimes we get, but the reality is we go out and we find those dumpy homes and we renovate them and we bring up the property values in that community that may be suffering. But again, that all starts with the purchase of the home and buying that home right. Because you're right, anybody can go in and fix a home up, but doing it right is a different story.
Well, I would beg to differ because I could not fix a house. But maybe some, I guess I could do it poorly. Spray paint.
Well, now, wait a second. You know, there was one we looked at about 6 months ago, and it had a new roof on it. And we're thinking, oh, great, we don't have to worry about the roof. We got inside, we looked at it. And, you know, maybe this was actually quite a year ago, maybe about a year and a half ago. It was one of the first houses we looked at. And we got in there and, you know, we were still learning the business. So this particular one, we brought a building inspector in on to go through the house for us. We got all through it. We looked at it. And the last thing we did is got up on the roof with the building inspector. And we were looking at the roofing material, brand new, nice stuff, looked good from down below. You know, we had figured all our numbers, not having to worry about it. And the inspector lifts up one of the tabs of the shingles and says, gosh, this really kind of looks funny. It was a homeowner that had installed the new roofing material, and they put the shingles on backwards. So the 3 tabs that are supposed to be facing downward, which adhere to the roof, were actually put on completely backwards. So the whole roof was worthless.
So, I mean, that really, you know, if people are out there and they want to maybe pursue something like this, that's a big issue, is buying something that maybe isn't what you think.
And that's the truth. And that's, again, where buying is really the key. Not only negotiating the sale and figuring out where you need to buy this property at to be able to put money into it. It's something we call a forced appreciation. We get in there, we fix the property up, and we bring up the value of that property through the renovation. And that takes a lot of time and effort, but also there's a lot of unforeseen things.
So, okay. So you go out, you're finding these houses. You got to buy it right. And I mean, that becomes, as you said, that's really where you make the money, is in the purchase side. Now, if you catch a nice uptick, like maybe over the last 2 or 3 months, you get a little bonus at the end. But that isn't really where your guys' business excels, it doesn't sound like. I mean, as far as waiting for the uptick, I mean, you guys are really trying to buy the property right. So what are some of the biggest mistakes then? I mean, buying the property right sounds great, but what would you say are some of the biggest mistakes to avoid in order not to buy it wrong?
That's a good question, and you're right. We don't sit around and wait for the market to go up. And as a matter of fact, this has been a difficult business over the past few years because the market has been going down. Those numbers that you forecast sometimes aren't as good at the end of the day. So finding that property, and now reword that question one more time for me.
Well, what are the biggest mistakes that people make when buying a house in order to flip it?
You know, probably the biggest mistakes that you make are estimating what it's going to cost to fix that property up and not going overboard on how much you're going to spend on that property. That's one of the things I think we've kind of struggled a little bit with. With the business model that we created, we permit all the renovations we do. We do our renovations with municipal approval, and we go through those processes. And it's real easy to go overboard on how much you put into a property, and also to be able to see those things that may be hidden. For example, this one we just bought, I made a mistake on. We got in there, we looked at the property, we figured out how much we need to spend on it, and we went ahead and made the purchase. We got into about 2 weeks of the job and realized that all of the electrical needed to be replaced in the home. All we wanted to do was add a dishwasher to the kitchen. But the meter on the outside of the house.
Doesn't sound like a flip. That just sounds like just wanted to add a dishwasher.
But the meter on the outside of the house was the older 100-amp service, and we should have seen that beforehand and known that was going to be an issue. And it's one of those areas that it's real easy to miss those things if you don't have some of the professionals helping you out. And that's why we had at the beginning, we went through a lot of houses with building inspectors to learn what they do and look at those things.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds pretty dynamic because, we've talked on this show about just inspections and the process and how many pieces of a house there are. And if you've ever built a house, you really do know how many there are. I mean, there's thousands of pieces to this thing. So you start kind of having to dissect it a little bit and understand each parameter. And then I think what you're really saying is not overspend on any one piece, even if you think you're just going to have to replace a dishwasher.
That's true. And I got involved. I'm going to put a little plug in here. There was an outfit called the Fortune Builders who came out through here through Seattle a couple months ago. They're actually the guys that are on the A&E Flip This House show. And, I've subscribed to some of what they do, and they really help us out detail each of those items in the house and where we want to spend the money, and to understand what needs to be repaired and what is maybe okay that we don't need to spend that money on.
Well, Daniel, it seems incredible to be able to go in and look at all these different pieces and then do it right. Because, the last thing you'd want to do is sell somebody a house that you didn't fix up the right way or the way people think. So, really appreciate you joining us and, taking the time to, help us understand a little bit what you guys go through in order to make the house right.
It's enjoyable. I know a lot of people are looking at doing this themselves these days. And, again, it's real good to consult professionals, work with good realtors who know what they're doing, and get building inspectors through the houses and understand the things that need to be fixed.
Yeah, not only that, if you need a dishwasher, make sure you find the right professional to find the right one, right?
And that you got electrical to handle.
And you got the electrical, because nobody needs fires on their dishes after they're dirty. Okay, well, Daniel, thanks for joining us. If you're out there and you're thinking, I could flip a house, maybe you can, maybe you can't. But some people are out there thinking, don't even want to flip a house. I just want to improve my own. Maybe you just want to make your own house a little bit better for yourself. There's a lot of ways you can do that. We're going to tell you a few when we come back. And don't forget, at the end of next hour, the top credit repair agent in the area is going to discuss credit and how you can fix yours if you need to. My name is Ben Brashen. You're listening to Brashenomics.